It's 8 o'clock. This is Sky News Tonight. Our top story, speeding up the clock. Michel Barnier has asked if it's true Britain has just 2 weeks to offer more Brexit money, and this is what he replied.
Ma réponse est oui.
My reply is yes, he says, but Britain in turn talk tough over Ireland. No new border can be created inside the United Kingdom, said the Brexit Secretary. We'll assess the state of the talks, also tonight. I'm no criminal, the first British TV interview with Carlos Puigdemont since his ousting as Catalan president.
To be treated like a criminal, like a drug trafficker, like a paedophile, like a serial killer, I think this is abuse.
One of comedy's biggest stars admits claims of sexual misconduct are true as his latest film is withdrawn. On The House, we visit the home handed over to its owner for just £1.
Little bear.
And Britain's Christmas adverts are £1 billion business, but do they actually make their retailers money? A very good evening to you. There are officially 504 days until Brexit, but today Europe told Britain it's got just 14 days to come up with more cash. The EU's chief negotiator said that if not, Brexit talks would be unlikely to move on to trade. There was a strong message too from Britain's David Davis. It's been suggested that the EU wants Northern Ireland to remain inside the single market and the customs union. But Mr Davis said there couldn't be a new border within our United Kingdom. Sky's Neil Patterson has this report now from Brussels.
You'd be forgiven a sense of déjà vu. Once again, the two sides meet. Once again, the two sides part. Once again, we all scratch our heads and ponder whether progress has in fact been made. The Brexit team will brook no talk of retreat. Though it wasn't so long ago, they said the same about no deal. Neil Patterson, Sky News, Brussels.
Well, senior political correspondent Beth Vrigui joins me now. And Beth, the time's ticking. They got, 2 weeks?
Well, it is ticking, but it's been ticking now for months. And these talks, these fast round of talks about the Brexit bill, the Northern Ireland border and citizens' rights have been rumbling on for months. This is the 6th round of talks, and all eyes are now on that European Union Council in December to see whether the impasse can finally be broken and there's a movement onto those future trade talks. And Michel Barnier sounding quite negative today when he said, put bluntly, we want more money, we want more detail on the money, and you have to give it to us. When you talk to people who are working on these negotiations behind the scenes in the UK, they at least are more optimistic. There's a sense that, certainly with citizens' rights, we're 3/4 of the way towards agreement. The Irish border is a bit more problematic, and then, of course, we come to the Brexit bill, whereby the UK, we think, has intimated about €20 billion as an opening offer, and we know that the European Union thinks that final settlement will come in more around the €60 billion mark, so quite a big gap. So domestically, the Prime Minister now has quite a challenge on her hands because she has to try and get progress on that money to push on talks in the EU, but at the same time she has to not anger Brexiteers on her backbenchers who are very reluctant to pay a big Brexit bill. So she's got all of that going on, and all the while next week the withdrawal bill comes back to the Commons. It's been delayed in coming back to the Commons for a further reading because of all the problems around rebellions over elements of that bill. It's stuffed with amendments. It's going to be quite hard to get that through the Commons, and she could find rebellion on her benches from Remainers over elements of that bill too. So she really is fighting a domestic front on Brexit and also has to try and push those Brussels talks on. She's going to be a very busy Prime Minister.
Indeed she is. Thanks, Beth. And of course, that's a story that's likely to feature prominently in tomorrow's papers. We'll be taking a first look at those at 10:30 tonight with the commentator for the Daily Mail on Sunday, Dan Hodges, and the writer Ellie Mae O'Hagan. And of course, a reminder that you can watch a full interview with the Brexit Secretary David Davis here on Sky News. That's on Sunday with Neil Patterson from 10 a.m. The man who ran Catalonia until his ousting a fortnight ago has told Sky News tonight that Spain had disregarded democracy. Carles Puigdemont told our Europe correspondent Mark Stone that he feels abused and shouldn't be treated like a criminal. Well, we can speak to Mark now. He's got an exclusive interview with the former Catalan leader.
Yes, we've just spent a fascinating hour with the man who has caused what many believe to be a significant crisis, not just for Spain, but for the European Union. He broke the law. He should be sent back and put in prison.
Mark Stone reporting there from Brussels. Now, arguably, it was Louis C.K.'s willingness to say the unsayable, especially about sex, that brought him success as a comedian. This evening, he responded to allegations that he behaved in a sexually inappropriate way towards 5 women, saying they are true and he regrets it. He released the statement after TV networks dropped his shows and the release of his new film was cancelled. Well, a warning now that this report from our arts and entertainment correspondent Katie Spencer includes flashing images.
You divorced me while I was a loser, so you lost.
Compelled to speak out, saying his behaviour wasn't funny. It crossed a line. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
The family of Carl Sargent say they hope an independent inquiry will determine the reasons for what they call serious failings leading up to his death. Wales's First Minister Carwyn Jones today asked for such an inquiry to look at his decision to sack the Labour politician from his cabinet. Mr Sargent was found dead at his home on Tuesday, days after he was accused of inappropriate behaviour, but not given the details.
An independent inquiry will ask all the questions that need to be asked and have not been answered, and will determine the reasons for the serious failings in following the correct procedures, practices and protocols, and the reasons for the complete abdication of responsibility and duty of care that was owed to Carl.
Police in Toulouse have arrested a man who deliberately drove a car into a group of students outside a school, injuring 3 people, 2 of them seriously. The suspect is thought to be 28 and known to police for minor crime. Uber has lost its appeal against a court ruling ordering it to treat its drivers as workers, paying them the minimum wage and giving them rights like sickness and holiday pay. Owners of the ride-hailing app argued that its drivers are self-employed and say they will appeal again. Marseille Football Club have sacked their defender Patrice Evra minutes after UEFA banned him for 7 months from all European club matches. He was suspended earlier this month for aiming a kick at a fan's head. Before a game, he'll also have to pay a hefty fine, almost £9,000. The shortage of NHS mental health services became clear today as it was revealed that tens of thousands of children referred for care have been denied treatment. Figures obtained by a leading charity suggest 150 children a day are turned away, with others waiting months to be assessed. The government says it's working on ways to improve the service, as our health correspondent Paul Kelso now reports.
This private girls' school in West London aims to give its pupils the best possible start in life. Want to focus on early intervention.
Both schools and local authorities are operating with quite tight budgets, which means they're not always able to lay on the kind of early intervention provision, which is really important to prevent low-level mental health problems from escalating.
The government will reveal its plans to deal with the mental health challenges in a green paper published before Christmas. Paul Kelso, Sky News.
This is Sky News Tonight. Coming up, 'tis the season, but do Christmas adverts actually work? We'll have more on that after the break.
It was love at first sight.
Election.
Now the hype around Christmas adverts is now a modern tradition, and the money the big stores spend on them amounts to billions. Well, today John Lewis released its offering featuring a giant snoring monster. I've got to say, reviews are pretty much mixed, from heartwarming to disappointing. But beyond the cinematic credentials, what evidence is there that Christmas adverts actually increase sales? Our correspondent Lisa Dowd went to find out.
For some, it's as anticipated as a Hollywood blockbuster, with a price tag to match. Same effect. Lisa Dowd, Sky News, Solihull.
Well, let's see if the weather's looking festive now.
ensuring brighter days ahead. Blue Insurance Car Insurance, proud sponsors of Sky News Weather.
Cloud and rain will clear south on Saturday as colder, brighter weather pushes in from the north, setting us up for a pretty chilly weekend overnight with frosts. Much of Britain will be dry on Friday evening with scattered wintry showers in the windier north. Further west, cloud and rain will push across Ireland, Northern Ireland, West Wales and southwest of England.
Blue Insurance Car Insurance, proud sponsors of Sky News Weather.
This is Sky News Tonight. Coming up, is Facebook the social network, or does it cause social anxiety? This is Sky News Tonight. Our top stories. The EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, has given the UK just 2 weeks to clarify how to settle its Brexit divorce bill.
Hello, sir. Hi.
In his first British TV interview since being ousted as Catalonia's president, Carles Puigdemont has accused Spain of disregarding democracy. And the comedian Louis C.K. has said allegations he behaved in a sexually inappropriate way towards 5 women are true, and he regrets it. An American widow has had an emotional meeting with the man who received her dead husband's face in a pioneering transplant operation. Lily Ross met Andy Sadness 16 months after the surgery made possible by her decision to allow the donation of the face to a man who had lived for a decade without one. Sky's Louisa Pilbeam has this report.
Lily's husband died 2 years ago. Face gave someone else a new life. Louisa Pilbeam, Sky News.
Now, Facebook's founding president has issued a warning about the social media site, saying the platform exploits vulnerability in the human psyche. Sean Parker, who left the company in 2005, has revealed he no longer uses social media. He suggested it interferes with productivity and relies on our need for social validation. And from our earlier report about young people's mental health, social media was one of their main concerns.
I think that could make someone really sad just by reading that, or it could make you depressed. And or have this subconscious, okay, this girl has more followers than me.
Well, with me now in the studio is Marek Tyszynski, the co-founder of the organisation Tactical Tech, which helps people to harness technology in a positive way. And joining us from Ann Arbor, Michigan, is Professor Ethan Kross, who's published research on how Facebook affects the well-being of young adults. Marek, let's start with you. We saw those young people talking about the pressures of social media. Do you agree that it's designed specifically to be addictive?
I think 6 years ago, Sean Parker said that today's creepy is tomorrow's necessity, and I think what he said today is kind of reveal what he meant by creepy at the time. And I think we should ask questions to people who created these technologies, what's behind them. And we know from the 60s that the technologies that we use today were designed in such a way that are attractive to us humans and wants to kind of interact with us. More information we give away, then more monetization happens and the business is rolling. And there must be a way for them to attract us so much that we can live without devices. I think the question is very straightforward. Look at ourselves. We cannot live without mobile phones or without our internet. Not even a minute, not even in the tube.
It's obsessive, isn't it, for many? Let's bring in Ethan now, who's in the United States for us. You've done research on this. Are social media sites designed to be deliberately addictive, and is that damaging?
Well, I think they are designed to get us to interact with them as much as we can. I don't think they're designed to make people feel bad, though. I think that was a surprise that science has pointed out over the past half a dozen years or so. And I think it's a really interesting question. Why does interacting with these sites lead us to often feel bad? And equally important, how can we use that knowledge to identify ways of interacting with social media that have the potential to improve the way we feel? Because I think these technologies are here to stay, and I think the challenge therefore is to figure out how we can work with them to be most productive.
So, Ethan, how is it that these companies make these sites addictive? What kind of tactics do they use?
Well, I don't know specifically what went into the minds of the creators what they were specifically thinking about to make them more addictive. I can say that we human beings have a very strong need to belong. We're strongly motivated to keep abreast of what's going on in our social worlds. And certainly social media helps fill those kinds of basic needs by providing immediate access to our broader social network at all times. There are lots of other factors that may well play into it, but I think that's one.
OK, and Marek, let's bring you in now. How do you think people should use social media and the likes of Facebook in a healthy way? How can it help them?
I think technology is here to stay. I agree with this statement, and we have to use it, but we also have to ask questions, what's behind it. We have to be able to look at our data ourselves. We have to gain some autonomy and agency in this entire network of quantification, and be able to benefit from that the way we want to benefit. And now this is kind of very imbalanced situation where we get services directly and we're very happy with them, like the use of map or finding something else is very easy for us. And we generate a lot of data that is then monetized, and we get back information in forms of advertisement or other kind of influences that you see through last elections or references and other things that not only give you a service but also make you feel certain things, may you feel like you want to act on something or not, and so forth. And that's very complicated processes that we are not seeing, not feeling, and yet somebody else there has the apparatus, if you like, has the possibility to use data and makes us feel certain things.
OK. Ethan, would you agree with that? I mean, what is the solution? Because we live in this digital world. It seems almost impossible to escape social media.
Well, there's one science-based strategy that exists, which is to use these technologies more actively rather than passively. And by that, I mean the default way that many people browse social media is they just voyeuristically scroll through what's happening without actually engaging other people, chatting with them directly, exchanging messages. And there is some data linking more active ways of using the technology with well-being improvements rather than declines. So that's one very simple thing I think we can do. But there are likely many more ways of strategically using the technology, using it to connect with certain kinds of people in certain kinds of situations. And unfortunately, the science is really just beginning to ramp up to look into those kinds of questions. And so I think we need to do a great deal more research on this topic. I think it's a fundamentally important topic both to society and science. And I agree with the comment that more understanding into the algorithms that are determining what we're seeing, and more broadly some of the data that governs these sites would be immensely useful for scientists and policymakers to come up with prescriptions for how to use the technology more effectively.
OK, Ethan, Marek, thanks ever so much for your time. The US President Donald Trump says he believes a Republican Senate candidate accused of having sexual contact with a 14-year-old will do the right thing and step aside if the allegations against him are true. A woman has accused Roy Moore of stripping down to his underwear and making her touch his genitals almost 4 decades ago. Well, our US correspondent Mark Austin is in Washington for us now. Mark, tell us a bit more about the detail of these allegations.
Well, Roy Moore is a very colourful conservative Christian standing in a Senate seat in Alabama next month. A debate circling this whole row over Roy Moore, terribly divisive for the Republicans, terribly damaging and very dangerous because this is a seat they really need to win.
OK, Mark, thank you. The US President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin have shaken hands at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Vietnam. The White House has said Mr. Trump will not have a separate formal meeting with Mr. Putin, but they might have an informal one. A Flybe passenger plane carrying 57 people made an emergency landing in Belfast this afternoon without its nose gear. One passenger was taken to hospital with a minor hand injury. There were no other casualties, but an air accidents investigation team is now looking into exactly what happened. Police investigating the mutilation and killing of hundreds of animals in Greater London say they believe the person responsible could begin attacking humans. Since September 2015, more than 360 animals, including cats and rabbits, have died, all in suspicious circumstances, with their limbs removed and often left elsewhere. Officers say they have 2 or 3 main suspects, as Dan Whitehead now reports.
Tony Jenkins has attended nearly every single call-out of animal mutilation suspected of being at the hands of the UK cat killer. A forensic lab has been set up to examine some corpses for any possible new evidence. But the killer remains highly active, leaving thousands of pet owners across the country living in fear. Dan Whitehead, Sky News.
You're watching Sky News Tonight. Coming up, in for a pound, the Bargain House in Liverpool, 1 year on. Now we're going to take you live to the Republic of Ireland, where the Irish Prime Minister is due to make a speech. You can see him nearly just about there, and he's making a party address, and we expect him to talk about the issue of the Irish border. Let's listen in.
This will help reduce waiting times, improve our hospitals, primary care, mental health and services for older people. We will also continue to work.
So there we go. We've heard from the Irish Prime Minister there talking about the issue with the Irish border and Brexit, and he has said there's a real need to ensure people, goods and services are protected. He said, let's build bridges, not borders, and of course that's in response to the EU saying that Northern Ireland should stay in the single market and the customs union. Well, let's get a quick check on all the day's sport now.
Good evening. It's half-time at Wembley, where England are taking on world champions Germany in a friendly. There's more live now on Sky Sports News, and we're back in the next hour.
OK, thanks, Gemma. Let's take a look at the weather now, shall we?
From warm, flowing island winds to an enchanting desert breeze.
Cloud and rain will clear south on Saturday as colder, brighter weather pushes in from the north, setting us up for a pretty chilly weekend with overnight frosts. Much of Britain will be dry on Friday evening with scattered wintry showers on the windier north. Further west, cloud and rain will push across Ireland, Northern Ireland, West Wales and the southwest of England. Wintry showers will continue over northern Scotland tonight. Elsewhere will be rather cloudy with outbreaks of rain, and the winds will be pretty strong in the south with a risk of coastal gales. Cloud and rain will slowly clear southwards across Ireland, England and Wales on Saturday. Colder, brighter weather will follow from the north with sunshine inland and wintry showers for northern hills. The rain's likely to linger across South Ireland, South Wales and southern England.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Coming up here on Sky News at 9, Britain told it has 2 weeks to find more money as more progress is urged in the Brexit talks. We'll have more on that and plenty other stories coming up after the